What was your Thanksgiving drama this year?
A large mixing bowl full of yams disappeared into nothing while everyone was trying to get food on the table. We have looked absolutely everywhere there is to look and it's just gone. 9 people seriously questioning their sanity now. There are lots of things that could have happened to the yams themselves, but the bowl being missing is a real head-scratcher.
8 questioning sanity. 1 pretending.
My dad's wife is back on meth. She hid his keys inside his car so that he can't find them, but it will still start, push to start car, so she can drive without him knowing. She also stuck a magnetic tracker thing on under his seat. I also found out that my cousin with Down syndrome can knock back whiskey just like she's drinking water. She parties harder than I ever could, and I'm jealous.
My 21-year-old sister will graduate from college in less than a month. My brother congratulated her on being the first person in our family to graduate college without getting pregnant. It turns out that's not true. She started sobbing and got in her car and drove away. Whoops.
I have a history of saying poo to someone at exactly the wrong moment in that person's life. I can relate.
2 bites into my meal at my mother-in-law's house, my Ring doorbell alerted me to someone ringing my doorbell. I pulled it up and catch an old man entering my house. I bolted out of my chair and went home. She lives close. I get there and no one is there. I pull up the video and see he exited like 20 seconds after he entered grumbling, "HRRRM wrong house." The funny thing was, as we were leaving I thought to myself, did I lock the front door? What are the effing odds? My food was still warm when I got back to my mother-in-law's house.
I walked into the wrong house on Thanksgiving 2 years ago. I was 24 years old LMAO, but as soon as I walked in and saw people I've never seen before, I turned around and said bye. It was then that I realized a lot of people probably leave their front door unlocked on Thanksgiving.
My mother-in-law always buys Thanksgiving dinner, and this time she didn't notice she bought the raw turkey and it wasn't until an hour before dinner when she learned she had to cook it rather than warm it up.
In-laws are visiting from out of town. Except father-in-law decided to leave yesterday and go home before Thanksgiving and did not come back. He told my wife and I, just not his wife. Mother-in-law is still here. FYI, this is normal for him.
Is he spending Thanksgiving with his mistress family?
My mom's had some issues that I think my dad has been downplaying. She has good days and bad. But today was bad. Nothing she said made sense. No sentence connected to another sentence. And sometimes the end of a sentence wouldn't connect to the beginning. And she was very frustrated with everyone that we didn't understand. She had conversations with people that weren't there. Swore people were there that were either dead or hadn't shown up. It was just my dad, her, and I. Very obvious who wasn't there. She saw me after dinner and said, "I'm so glad you finally made it. You missed it. It was a madhouse earlier with the kids running around." I could go on and on, but my dad brushed it off as her just being sleep deprived. It was kinda like talking to someone who was half awake and half dreaming. But this has happened a few times before, not as bad, but she has refused to see a doctor. The tearjerker was when we gently helped her to understand that all night no one else had been here, and I could see it in her eyes. She said, "You're right. I do need to see someone." So I guess that's what we are doing in the morning. I hope she's having a good day, and it will be easier to bring her. Is this dementia? IDK man, I've never seen it before.
It sounds like it, hun. I'm sorry. It's possibly being exacerbated by a UTI. You would not believe how confused that can make people. My mum wasn't too far down her dementia path when she had a UTI, and it was like, holy poo, she's totally gone, no coning back. But after some antibiotics and fluids, she was back to how she was. Try to get her to see a doctor as soon as you can. Hugs from Ireland.
Had to call a tow truck on some teenager, friend of front neighbor's kid, because he wouldn't move his car that was blocking my mom's driveway. She told him to move it since she needed to get something for dinner. He answered that he shouldn't had to move it because it's a public street. I go get the stuff and then get home. I again tell him to move it because I want to park up the driveway. Shouts at me that I can find parking up the street. Now he has no car for Thanksgiving and cop gave him a ticket. Sue.
What an asshole and a dippu. Anyone with half a brain and a driver's license could tell you can't block a driveway.
My grandpa who has dementia asked why there was cranberry sauce on his pants and if my mother could clean it up. No one made anything with cranberries, he was bleeding from his penis. To the hospital we went, and he had a massive kidney stone he was trying to push out stuck halfway in his urethra, which also, as you guessed, tore it up and made him bleed via urethral rupture. Edit. Trying to hit these comments one by one, so sorry for the delay, so we'll just make an edit. It's not that he can't feel pain, he just can't communicate it. When we feel sadness, happiness, anger etc., we usually communicate whether it's verbal or otherwise. Pain in this case falls under that category and is something we use to communicate what's wrong, but as stated previously, is something he has a hard time doing. Dementia is a name for a group of diseases, just like cancer. There's Alzheimer's, frontotemporal, vascular and one other I can't think of. Most common being Alzheimer's, which basically degrades the ability to process important brain functions, such as communication, memory, learning new things etc. My grandpa was diagnosed with it back in 2019, so he has progressed to a point where I don't think he knows who he was having dinner with. I appreciate everyone's concern, he is at the hospital and is okay now.
I expected many things in this thread, but Grandpa shooting blood from his DK was not one of them.
My in-laws have a place at a lake an hour or so from our house. Every time we go, my Sil takes the bedroom with a full bed and toddler bed for herself and her one child, who sleeps with her. Her other two children sleep with my in-laws. My husband and our 3 children are left trying to figure out where to sleep, usually on an air mattress on the living room floor. Well, we came early and took the room. She is livid, stomping around and slamming doors. Has been for 4 hours. Update, thank you to everyone who responded. Sil eventually went to bed around midnight, after saying for hours that she was going to go to a hotel instead of sleep in the other bedroom with a twin mattress. Mil told her this morning she better knock it off, and the day has been relatively normal. I basically talked with her like nothing was wrong. Tried the whole kill em with kindness approach, seemed to work. Was actually a really good day, best holiday we have had. Played board games and laughed, strange considering how it started.
She got beat at her own petty game. Well played.
My mom died last night. This Thanksgiving pretty much sucked. Luckily, she had plenty of family that loved her and it's been alright grieving. Unfortunately, my sister's last interaction with her was doing CPR. She's traumatized, everyone is sad. Petty family drama and politics did not make an appearance this year, just lots of prayers and people telling me they are sorry.
My 12-year-old cousin wouldn't eat any of the food that my 80-year-old grandma spent the whole day making because it wasn't Brazilian. His parents are 100% Italian and we do not have any Brazilian relatives. His parents are brain surgeons, so they're loaded, and their excuse was that he doesn't eat homemade stuff. Only high-end? I have no idea what that had to do with Brazilian food, but I'm assuming it's some sort of phase? I don't even think he's had Brazilian food before. Edit, holy poo. I woke up with a lot of replies, but for clarification, my dad and his whole side of the family were born in Italy but had me here, so I'm American, and they celebrate Thanksgiving for me and my siblings, younger cousins.
Didn't Grandma think to shave the turkey?
My cousin unfortunately came out as a flat earther while I was showing off my brand new telescope I bought recently.
I didn't know that coming out as stupid was a thing.
Somehow he made it possible, and to add on to his stupidity, he said the moon was fake and a reflection of the earth.
The gravy was a war crime. The plastic cooking utensil melted into it. I was the first to find out.
Macroplastics.
Showed up to the in-laws, Mil nowhere to be seen. Phil is in the kitchen working on almost finished dinner. We're told Mil isn't feeling well and is in the bathroom. Husband goes to check on her. Comes back a while later. Turns out she was stressed and ornery earlier in the day, so Phil offered her one of his edibles he has for medical purposes. She ate her first ever edible on Thanksgiving, got dinner halfway done, then ended up on the floor of the bathroom with dizzy spells and nausea. By the time we finished up dinner she had fallen asleep. We moved her to her bed, then ate dinner without her. It was weird.
That's gonna be the greatest leftovers she's ever had.
I got first and second degree burns on my foot and calf from boiling water.
We accidentally spilled some warm turkey grease on one of our dogs. He didn't seem hurt, but the other 6 dogs at the house would always lick him whenever he walked past. It was funny and sad to see how pathetic he looked being licked by all the other dogs.
My mom found out a week ago that she has terminal lung cancer and has 6 to 12 months to live. Needless to say, there was a cloud over the meal.
My aunt pretended to be paralyzed from COVID to avoid taking care of her sickly mother.
So who kicked her in the shins to test it?
My kids got hammered wed night, one got left at the bar and walked 3 miles to get home. I woke up 3 a.m. and saw that one kid was missing, so I called him. He was still a mile from home, so I drove to get him. When I got to him, the police were questioning him. Said they had a report of a man with a weapon having a mental health crisis. Luckily they got another call and let my doofus go home with me.
A long time ago I got really drunk at a bar, and when it was time to go home I walked for 2 hours to a house I hadn't lived in for over 5 years. It was getting light by that time, and I stopped in the driveway realizing I didn't live there anymore, and turned around and walked back for 2 hours to my apartment near the bar I had been at. This was 25 years before Uber existed. So yeah, young drunk people do stupid things.
Had to work. Multiple residents in the lobby. One resident drops part of her meal she was taking to family. Small child is knocked over by the extremely helpful dog who couldn't wait to assist with cleanup. One resident argued with her daughter when she arrived. Told her daughter that she wasn't going to dinner because half the family is unvaccinated. Another resident had their plans completely f'd when her son's transmission went out and was unable to pick her up, and poor guy was stuck at the halfway point and had to wait a few hours for a tow. And the last of it, so far, dude comes back from family dinner. He stops to chat. Apparently their holiday meal almost came to blows when the black sheep of the family turned up uninvited and tried to bum money from their elderly mother. Still have a few people out and still have a few hours left on shift, so there may be more to come as people stop by the desk to talk about their evening. Edit. Last one I got this evening. Resident went to their son's house. Son has 2 dogs and a cat. They locked the cat up because it has a habit of climbing where it shouldn't. Someone stops by and the cook steps outside to chat. Somehow, the cat got out of the room it had been confined to for the evening. While a few was outside talking, the cat knocked the platter of already carved turkey into the floor. Everyone comes in to find 2 very happy dogs and a cat enjoying a turkey feast. Most of the family was unhappy, but the residents say it was the most entertaining thing he has seen all year.
You know what's better than one family's drama? Many families' drama. The power went out at the host's house and I ended up cooking and hosting at the last minute.
This happened to a bunch of people in San Diego today. Something like 5K homes had power shut off due to fire risk.
My dad and stepmom were ragging on me, which is pretty normal. I came to their house for Thanksgiving and my brother showed up. My brother and I haven't seen each other in about 4 years. Anyway, so they're going on about me and my brother is getting visibly uncomfortable. They've been like this to me my whole life, and I think my brother had that realization very suddenly, same as I did when my girlfriend pointed it out. It was good to see someone get upset about the things they say to me. It makes me realize I'm not crazy.
This sounds exactly like my husband, except he's an only child. It took me to be uncomfortable and angry for solidarity to come. They're cut out of our lives now. Family should be a safe place, or it isn't family. IMHO.
Thanksgiving was supposed to be my wife and me in Oregon, but then my father passed away on Sunday. Booked a red-eye flight to get home to be with mom and help out with things. Despite being a poor cook, I swung by the grocery store on Tuesday so I could prepare something for the 2 of us. Turned out okay. Edit. I turned off notifications so I could focus on home stuff. Now I'm waiting for my flight back, so I thought I'd check in. Thank you all for your thoughts and words.
Met my cousin's fiancée for the first time. She is clearly mentally unwell. She dominated all conversation with her non-stop ramblings, which included a story about the first time she masturbated and asked that we buy a baby xylophone for her chickens as a wedding gift for the human couple. Edit, fixed typo and clarified the wedding issue. For context, the masturbation story came after a rant about being raised in a religious household, and no longer being religious. Sexual behavior was discouraged. I masturbated a lot. I started at 13. Xylophone request came because I have a 7-month-old baby who doesn't have a xylophone. I'm sure they are great for chickens, but in the context of non-stop talking it was just another layer of insanity. Many more things were said, but they are all a blur at this point. Wild scene. Thanks for the award.
Baby xylophones are really cute, but folks forget they grow up into adult xylophones and often aren't prepared for all the work they require.
After finishing off my truck stop turkey meal in my big rig truck, I went to use the facilities. Guy in the stall next to me was loudly watching funny videos on his phone and whacking off and moaning and intermittently laughing at the video. Edit. All I heard of the video was a woman saying, "What's the most expensive device in your kitchen?" I'll be hearing that and remembering his mossy oak hunter camo Crocs for far longer than I want to.
America's Funniest Pee Videos.
My sister-in-law let everyone know that her husband has a small penis.
One Christmas Eve, my dad's then new girlfriend blurted out that my dad has a thick penis at the dinner table in the presence of all his kids, including me, their SOs and his sister. I had never seen a woman in her 40s turn that red into the stunned silence that followed when it registered what she said. My dad hid his face in his hands for a solid 5 minutes. I forgot the exact context, it's been 10+ years, but it was an absent-minded off-the-cuff comment in response to something someone said. She didn't just randomly throw it out there.
My 17-year-old cousin stood up in the middle of dinner and announced he got a girl pregnant and she was keeping the baby. Most people laughed until about 30 awkward seconds went by, and one by one we started realizing that he was in fact serious when he started going into details. My 80-year-old grandma, who hasn't had a drink of alcohol in over a decade, drank wine straight out of the bottle after.
There's a strong possibility that my stepmother sabotaged my stepsister's cooking.
I have to hear this story.
Not much of a story. But she kept pushing ingredients that my sister didn't want to use in some things while making sure that certain ingredients needed for other things were nowhere present in the house. My stepsister is a very good cook, but my stepmother not so much. My sister warned us yesterday that this was happening, and neither me nor my other sisters were surprised. Most of the backstory isn't something for me to tell though. My Thanksgiving dinner was me, my parents, and my younger sister. Just the 4 of us at my parents' home. Mom got a text message from my aunt, Mom's sister, about how Grandma, Mom's mom, was bad-mouthing the food she made and talking about how her boys, Mom and Aunt's brothers, can't be expected to eat this stuff. Mom texted Aunt back with, "Tell her that guests don't get to complain about free food, they just get to choose if they want to eat or not." Apparently Aunt took this advice, because about 20 minutes later Mom got several texts and voicemails, she didn't answer her phone, about how Aunt kicked people out early and how Mom ruined Thanksgiving by telling Aunt to say that. This is why we stopped going to family Thanksgivings, by the way.
Mom's the hero there. My great-grandmother referred to my baby cousin as cute, but odd. The baby has Down syndrome.
I laughed, but I felt compelled to justify myself to the interweb. It was relief at understanding that everyone has that person. My mom complains that my sister's weird-ass kid doesn't listen. He's legally deaf, Mom. That's to be expected.
My boyfriend's brother bought over these really spicy chips he got at Five Below. I think they are called the spiciest chips in the world, IDK lol. Anyways, both of them ate one. About 5 minutes later, I walk into the kitchen and I see my boyfriend with tears rolling down his face and stuffing ice cream in his face, LMAO. Then he disappeared for a little bit, so I went upstairs and found him laying in the hallway, drenched in sweat and barely able to even speak. He said he threw up and he wasn't human for the next little bit. Both their grandparents were calling them idiots lol.
Novices. You're supposed to prime up the digestive system by eating a banana first. He's gonna be having round 2, spicy butthole boogaloo on the toilet tomorrow.
We found out Grandma gets competitive as hell in beer pong.
Semi-related, but my husband made espresso martinis for my family last Christmas, and after a couple, Grandma fell over trying to return a shot in a game of table tennis. Might have to go half strength on the cocktails this year. She's nearly 80.
Uncle by marriage helped paint Sill House and apparently she never thanked him. Now he is holding a grudge. Thanksgiving was to be at the uncle's house until this thing blew up. I'm just back here eating deviled eggs and drinking beer.
My mom, who I've been no contact with for most of my life, said she wanted to reconcile and please come to Thanksgiving so she could see her grandson. She wasn't there when we arrived, and told my sister that she didn't want to have dinner with us. Literally nobody cared, and we had a great Thanksgiving without her. Honestly dodged a bullet.
Come visit, I want to see you. I don't want to see you. This bitch LMAO.
My puppy wouldn't stop barking at the turkey roaster. Edit. Puppy tax, link.
The enemy has been identified.
Father-in-law got drunk, took his shirt off and then arm wrestled my son, lost. Then tried to tackle his daughter, my wife, also lost. Everyone is worried grandma has dementia, but for some reason she made a pie. Everyone ate it and pretended it was pie. Not sure what to call it. It was in a pie pan, there was no crust. It had apples.
Deconstructed apple pie.
Maybe, if I had to guess, she just mixed all the ingredients for the crust in the filling and then may or may not have baked it.
An argument about the Left Behind series being fictional or not. My aunt got upset because my cousin and I called the series fictional. Not Christian, however. Neither of us were attempting to debate the validity of the Bible's telling of the end times. We were simply stating that the series was fictional by definition.
My grandmother's dog literally died an hour before dinner.
My future monster-in-law told us last week her and the kids were COVID positive and in bad shape. She said they weren't doing Thanksgiving, so don't bother showing up. Guess who sent long and angry texts about us not showing up to dinner?
My parents' cat chose them after fires took over our state last Thanksgiving. She came to the door and decided she was ours. They tried to find her owner with no luck. Thanksgiving morning this year, cat is missing. My parents are yelling about how she stayed for a year and chose to go back. They're tearing up the house. She had just been to the vet, so they thought maybe she was upset. Hours later, they find her in a closet they already looked in. She was cuddled up in some blankets and sleeping. I think she was sore from a vaccine she got. My mom is in tears. My dad won't let the cat's feet touch the floor. She is being carried everywhere and fed treats in his arms. Drama. Edit. Cat tax. Blink. My cousin was apparently at a party last night. This morning when she left, she gave a friend a ride home, and when the guy got out of her car he was shot 5 times. She rushed him to the ER and he died shortly after. Needless to say, she wasn't at dinner. She is doing as fine as she can be.
My 10-year-old son beat me at ping pong, twice.
Legally he owns the house now.
Had to listen to my dad talk about how the communists are conspiring with our podunk town's Walmart to make the aisles narrower.
I want to be in this much denial about gaining weight. My little cousin was running an imaginary ice cream stand, and in a matter of minutes her prices rose from coins to 19. The inflation only ended when one of the uncles paid her an actual quarter for the imaginary ice cream.
My cousin's neighbor, best friend caught COVID and was depressed about being stuck in the house while everyone else was out for the night with relatives. So, they stole the pumpkin pie from the fridge and ate the whole thing. Edit, I should mention that the rest of the family tested negative, which is why they were out.
It would be hilarious. Sad if he couldn't even taste it.
None. My wife's extended family ticked us off last year. Hurt her bad. So, we ate out for the first time ever. When we came home, I noticed that she was stress-free. This year, she asked me to go out again. We did today. Went to our local Cracker Barrel. And it was good. Above all, she is stress-free, which is good.
Well, my parents are divorcing after 24 years. My dad had an affair. And my family Thanksgiving is going down on Saturday, so, TBD.
A 22-year woman showed up at my house crying because she was lost and asked me if I could help her find her boyfriend's house. I was just about to put my streaks on the grill. My wife and I had a couple drinks at this point, so I offered to walk her to her boyfriend's house. She knew that he lived near the jail and that was only about a 15 minutes walk from my house. While we were walking, she said that her phone and food stamp debit card got stolen recently, so she couldn't call her boyfriend. We ended up walking the area I thought he would love in based upon her very incomplete description of where her lived. She said that some of the sites looked familiar, but she wasn't sure if we were in the right area. At one point we found a cop and she asked him for help, but he said that he was busy responding to a call. After walking a good chunk of my small hometown, we found his house, a 2-mile or so walk that ended up being just a few blocks from my house. It was a nice walk, my dog enjoyed it and I got to help someone. She is my daughter's age and I didn't want anything bad to happen to her.
NGL I was waiting for, and that's when I got jumped. Glad to be wrong.
Our oven heated to 400 but didn't keep its temperature. When we went to take everything out, the temp was only 225. Had to reheat everything, and keep a close eye on it.
My cousin's boyfriend took a huge poo and needed to ask people for a plunger. This is his first time meeting our large family. Lol. Edit, thanks for the awards. Edit 2, because people keep making comments about this, there are 3 toilets. The two upstairs, where almost everyone was congregating, have plungers. Buddy used the basement toilet, which happened to not have one. He left his phone on the table upstairs, so he had to haul his ass upstairs to ask my cousin and grandma for a plunger. While doing that, people overheard, and after he got it and bolted downstairs, the word spread like wildfire and a bunch of us were rolling. Sorry but not sorry that I was one of the ones that found it funny. Edit 3. Also, respectfully, those of you upset with my grandparents for not having enough toilet bowl water, or not having a plunger in the basement bathroom, which, yes, they should have had if people were over. They're just never down there themselves. Take a chill pill. Shoulda coulda woulda, but we're here now.
Do you not have a family poop knife?
We found out my brother is not the biological father of his 23-year-old son. Only his mother has known all these years. Edit, almost forgot, we found out my niece has COVID, and so several of us needed to get tested before other guests would come to the meal. Several pharmacies were called before we found one with rapid tests in stock. Edit 2, thanks for the info about the accuracy of rapid tests. I was not aware. Now I feel shame, but also gratitude. Edit 3, some more details, points of clarification. For the purposes of the story, we'll call my brother Goofus, my nephew Slamburger, my niece Spicy, and their mother she who must not be named, you know who. Spicy didn't show up to dinner. She called beforehand and let us know she wouldn't be coming, which was sad because she was going to bring the banana cream pie. Goofus and you know who were divorced years ago. I don't know if Goofus knew about the affair, but I doubt he was surprised by it. She is, not good. The bio father was a co-worker of hers at the time. Goofus knows who he is, that he was a friend of you know whose. Slamburger, at present, is not interested in meeting him. The discovery did indeed come about through an Ancestry.com type service, I don't know which. Slamburger and Spicy decided to both get them, were comparing results and noticed a conspicuous absence of our last name in his report. They started joking that Goofus was not his father, then came to the section where it listed his parents explicitly. Apparently both had used the service and consented to showing up for connections, and boom. Slamburger confronted you know who about it, who admitted to having had an affair but still insisted that Goofus is his father, even though the name of the guy she had an affair with was in the report under father. WTF. Slamburger called Goofus to break the news. Also did not come to dinner but Goofus and I went to visit him later. Slamburger is 100% still part of our family. We made that clear to him. I don't know if he doubted that anyway, but he was glad to hear it. In particular, Goofus stated plainly that Slamburger is still, and will always be, his son. Slamburger was not a big fan of you-know-who, and now hopes to never have to speak to her again. Goofus could definitely file suit, as he paid something like 14 years of child support. Said he won't though because it wouldn't be worth having to interact with her again. He did seriously consider taking a poo on her bed, though. She really does suck.
Testing is not working out well in your family's favor. My dad said this was the best Thanksgiving dinner he's ever had. I cooked.
Oh.
My girlfriend's nieces have lice. And they were constantly hovering over my son. Also, their dad didn't seem to give two poos.
Mum made me cry for being sad about my son's father being dead. He committed suicide 2 months ago. Expressionless.
I'm sorry for your loss. My daughter 2 years ago and I've been crying. There is no timeline for grief. I wish you peace.
My dad just rushed my mom to the ER. And we have no idea what's happening. Edit. Thank you all so much. It's 1:30 a.m. and they just got home. My mom had intense pain comjng from her side, and was getting sick. She was hiding this from us to not affect our Thanksgiving. They ran tests and the results so far are normal. They got her on pain meds and some nausea medicine and sent her home. Thank you all for this support. I'm very excited to finally be able to go to bed.
My 5-year-old son peed in the cat food bowl while one was cooking and then cut his own hair while I was eating dinner.
Chaotic evil.
My mother-in-law was admitted to the ICU by her primary doctor yesterday afternoon. At 4 a.m. she had to undergo emergency surgery lasting 6 hours. They still can't get her heart rate down and her kidneys may be failing. And my brother-in-law said that we were being dramatic because, if she was that sick, he'd have known before now. Edit. Wow, this blew up. Thank you all for the well wishes. I think his reaction is because he hasn't talked to his mom in months. His adopted daughter, niece, by blood, got pregnant and he did not approve, so he cut her off. My Mill refused to stop talking to her granddaughter, so he cut her off too. I think his reaction is denial because he refused to return her calls for months. Update. She's doing much better today.
My mother-in-law recently went from, just going to see the GP about this random bump on my belly button, to, you have inoperable metastatic pancreatic cancer, in 3 days. So, F your brother-in-law, personally.
My cousin got locked up around 1 a.m. last night, so technically Thanksgiving, for trafficking methamphetamine and possession of a stolen firearm. Neither of which were his but the guy he was giving a ride to. His bond is $500,000. Happy Thanksgiving.
They used regular green beans in the green bean casserole instead of French cut.
My mother-in-law locked herself in her room because I wouldn't let her hold her grandson after he'd been fussy all day, and I finally got him to settle for a nap when we got there. I didn't want him to wake being passed from one person to another. So she called me a bad mom.
My aunt's pet lynx torn open my nephew's scrotum. Straight to the
God damn it. Have we arrived at a time and place in this world where one can't even enjoy a Thanksgiving meal with their scrotum hanging out anymore and not have to fear it being viciously attacked by a lynx? Jesus Christ, what is the world coming to?
I got yelled at for eating cranberry sauce wrong. For all of you asking, I opened the can, got a spoon, and started scooping it. Closing square bracket, closing square bracket. This was my first Thanksgiving without my mom, so I volunteered to work. One of my co-workers was telling me about how her extended stay messed up her room key and weren't on property to fix it, so she was going to sleep in her car till tomorrow. It is cold tonight. I gave her money for a hotel tonight as a PIF in honor of my mom. My mom was cheap and a terrible tipper who would never have given money to a stranger, so yeah, my mom inspired generosity in death.
Hope you're doing okay.
I'm okay. It's hard because I remember last year, sitting at the table talking. She died suddenly with no will 3 months ago, so it's been a struggle. My uncle invited me to dinner but I just couldn't. Work pays double for holidays, so it made sense. I'm glad I had the money with me and that she is safe tonight. It is literally just me and my wife, and our pets. Unless the cats decide that tonight is Fight Club, there was no drama.
Lol, my aunt and grandma got into an argument about whether there are prostitutes in our county or not. Grandma looking at aunt. How do you know there aren't any here? Aunt. Because they're all down in, blank, dumbass. I lost my poo.
Literally, Grandma could have won the argument right there by putting an offer out. My lawyer liberal aunt was invited to dinner along with my MAGA anti-vaxxer uncle. Yep, it went just as how you thought it would go.
My sister, her best friend and my niece were so loud and belligerent the rest of us were convinced the neighbors would call the cops. My mum tried to warn my sister that she could end up getting arrested, but my sister pulled the "I know my rights" BS. Had to have a talk with my kid when we were leaving about not repeating anything she heard said tonight because my sister, her best friend and my niece were saying non-stop deeply inappropriate poo and slurs. I'm insisting on a Thanksgiving with just me, my mum and daughter next year, cause F dealing with that again next year. Although the highlight of the night was when my sister tried to say she's not nor has ever been homophobic and everyone there had receipts to prove her wrong. That was hilarious.
I dropped a half-full container of cottage cheese, and the dogs were outside. I had to clean it up myself.
Our family uncle crushed one of the kids at air hockey, made the kid cry, and posted about it on Reddit. I'm the uncle.
You gonna learn today.
All the grandkids came over and they are toddlers. They ran around the house most of the night in a pack, screaming and causing chaos and disorder, and eventually they made their way to the mantel above the fireplace where they discovered a box that they just couldn't resist picking up and opening. The oldest one grabbed handfuls of grey dust out of the box and started throwing it up in the air in the living room, yelling out, "It's snowing, Mommy," while my aunt stared in shock and horror. Apparently the kids found the ashes of our aunt's old cat and couldn't help but spread the love. Swear this just happened a few hours ago and I couldn't make this up. Tears of joy.
This was a roller coaster from start to finish. As soon as I read "grey dust," I gasped.
I'm the black sheep of my family and the outcast. Most of my family has disowned me. I spent today in rehab. It's my 10th day in 45-day program. I'm done with drinking and DJing. It wasn't that bad at all. Watched football with the other addicts and had a hot meal delivered to us from the VFW. Yeah, I'm in a VA hospital. It's for the best. Holidays are hard for users. I always drink harder on special occasions, so I'm in here away from temptation. Wish y'all the best. I'll see ya at Christmas.
In the same boat as you. 28-day program, 15 days in. It was wonderful having people to spend Thanksgiving with for once. Rooting for you. We got this.
I lost the entire food budget in the grocery store parking lot earlier this week, so I had to feed the family from random stuff I had laying about. The kids had chicken nuggets and mashed potatoes. Another flawless Thanksgiving in the history books. Cheers to all.
Dude, it's only 15:30. Give us a minute. The poo's still happening. Edit. 2050 just got back home to my chair, in front of my TV. The dramatic highlight of the evening was hands down the 2.5-hour poo show of my best friend Chris's dad, Mr. Rawls, trying to figure out which one of us dinged the poo out of his new 2020 C8 Corvette. There's white effing paint in the dent. Mind you, of the 6 of us in attendance, 0.5 drive white cars. Mr. Rawls' daily driver, Chris, his sister, Kaylee, and her boyfriend, Mark, and Mrs. Rawls all drive white cars. Someone definitely railed a door into his rear quarter panel, but there was no visible damage to any of the white cars in the driveway. Throughout the day, we played musical Cars with the open spot next to the vet, so it definitely had to be one of them, because the vet never moved all day and it was pristine when I arrived around 12. But I'm not sure who. My money is on the wife, Mrs. Rawls. It was a great time. I have also never been happier to be driving a black Camry in my life.
Thank you for watching. We upload new videos every day, so be sure to come back for more fun. Please consider liking and subscribing if you enjoyed the video.